As far as Mahjong, if you could walk, if you could talk, and if you knew the numbers, she taught you how to play. You could be 6 or you could be 66. That she just thought it was the game for everybody. And she always wanted to have a game to play. So all of us kids learned when we were like 7 or 8, not that you would know it from my playing. And she always had that game. So Karen, my mother would have loved you. She would have loved you because you gave up your various administrative jobs and took your love of Mahjong and made it your calling. You took your passion for the game and you wrote 3 books. I read one of them and I plan to read the other 2. And just as a little commercial, when we send out our next email, we'll put the link in again so that now that you're going to hear Karen, you're going to want to read these books. Then you've taken your Sharon abilities and took what excites you and you've shared it with JCCs, sisterhoods, women's organizations like DASA and NCJW. And in your spare time, you've been married for 30 years and have 2 grown children. Karen, you have proved that you can have it all. And I'm hoping all is not perfect by you either. So, Karen Gooen, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me, Lorraine. It was so sweet to hear from you that first time. You were so enthusiastic. So, hello, Stamford. I think I have a few friends in the general area. A very good friend whose last name is Gruen. If anybody knows Dr. David Gruen, old family friend. He grew up with my husband. It was David Gruen and Michael Gooen, and they were very close when they were young. It was cute. Anyway, so I have some connection to Stamford. So nice. I'm sorry I can't see the 2 people or the 3 people that have put up icons, but the rest of you, I'll be looking to you to make sure you're getting my jokes. So feel free to react. What I'm going to be talking about tonight are the psychological benefits of the game. And what I want you to remember are 3 numbers. The number 3, the number 20, and the number 70. So it's 3, 20, and 70. Those are going to come up. So just keep those numbers in the back of your mind. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about are the 3 psychological benefits of the game. The first one, I'm sure you all would agree, is the cognitive benefit. We are at the very end of this year's card. We're about to learn a new card. And that is the amazing thing about this game. I don't know any other game that reinvents itself every single year. The fact that we have to forget what we've learned and master a whole new card every year, learn new patterns, learn new systems. It's so healthy for our brains to be challenged every single year, to learn something new and to, learn how to do strategy, how to do defense. It's a very healthy activity for our brains. So cognitively, you've got to recognize that Mahjong, unlike any other game, in poker, it doesn't really change. You want to get a royal straight flush. They don't really change the rules. But in Mahjong, some years the card changes completely. So again, cognitive benefit, no question. The second main psychological benefit is the social. And here we are tonight as a perfect example of that you can make friends if you know how to play Mahjong, especially if you have the National Mahjong League card. You can go down to Florida and be a snowbird. You can play online with your friends all over the country like we are now. You can literally, if you have the card and you know how to play the standard rules, you could sit down at any Mahjong table anywhere with the National Mahjong League rules. I'm not sure how many of you know about the other, I'm going to give you a little brief history lesson, that there were 2 main American styles of Mahjong. When Mahjong first came to the United States 101 years ago with Joseph Babcock, He introduced it and it was very popular across all different social strata. He taught a pretty Chinese traditional version, but as the Depression set in and people started to do other activities, two main groups still continued to play Mahjong. One was the Jewish ladies, and they became what's known as the National Mahjong League based in New York, and they stratified, they had their rules and they had their way of playing. The other main group that still played Mahjong, a different variation, was the military wives. I'm being sexist here. It was mostly the wives were playing because the husbands were in the military. Now there's women in the military, but anyway, the military wives had a version that they called Wright-Patterson after the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. And their rules are different than ours. First of all, they don't have an annual card. They have a little booklet that they only put out every 5 years or so. And the idea is if you know how to play Wright-Patterson rules, you can play with anybody at any military base all over the globe. So if you're in Newport News and you get transferred to the Philippines, you get transferred to Germany, or you get transferred, to California, wherever you are, if you know how to play, you can play against anybody. So the social opportunity of knowing how to play Mahjong is just phenomenal. One other quick note I'll tell you about the difference between the military version and ours. They don't have jokers, and their flowers mean something different than ours do. You know how our flowers, sometimes you see a flower that is 1, 2, 3, or 4? They actually try to collect a flower with each number. With us, a flower is a flower. It doesn't really matter. But for them, it has a different meaning. So anyway, if someone says, I know how to play Wright-Patterson, you'd have to do a little bit of background work to be able to work together. But at least they know how to play Mahjong in theory. Okay, so those are the two main American styles, and they both have that wonderful social benefit of being able to play against anybody, meeting new friends. Say you're going and you're helping your daughter-in-law with the baby. I mean, right now we all know we're all playing online. But if you ever had to relocate and wanted to make new friends, you go to a clubhouse, you go to a senior center, people are playing Mahjong, you've got the card, you know how to play, you can meet new people. The other thing that we all know is when you've got your standard group that you've been playing with for 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, you can tell week to week if something's up. You have this wonderful group that you have this continuity with. And if something's a little off, or if they're having a great week, they want to share, it's all good. It's this wonderful social bond that develops at the table that's unlike anything else. I like to say what's said at the Mahjong table stays at the Mahjong table. So you can vent there about things that, you can talk about. You can complain about the rabbi, or you can say, I'm so disappointed in what happened with X, Y, and Z. And it's just a safe space for you to be able to communicate with people who are going to understand. So again, another amazing social benefit of Mahjong. It's a little different now. We're having to do it on Zoom, but again, the connection that we've made, it's wonderful. To be able to have that and to continue with it is very, very healthy. The third benefit that nobody ever really talks about, but I think is so important, is the emotional benefit. We all play, when we play, 8, 10 hands, you're playing for a long time. And there are going to be weeks when you can't get the right tiles to save your life. There's going to be weeks when you just do terribly. But on average, over time, if you're playing against people that are about the same level as you, you should come away winning a couple hands every time, or at least one. And you get that tremendous sense of accomplishment that you made Maj. It's very healthy for you. You're all tense and you're, very stressed out. I like to say that the most aerobic part of Mahjong is trying to make a singles and pairs hand, because your heart starts racing as you're getting towards that 13th tile. And you just, you're very agitated, but it's very healthy for you. So you get that tremendous sense of well-being if you actually win a game. And if you don't win, you've built up all that tension. Oh, if I could just get that joker, if I could just get that flower, whatever it is. If you don't get it, you just throw in the tiles and you got to start over. And it's just really healthy. It's very cathartic to just let it go and move on to the next game. So from both points of view, from winning and feeling good about yourself, and from losing and being able to put your frustration into that and complain about the tiles instead of what's really bugging you, it's all really healthy. It's also a wonderful distraction. I mean, God knows we have needed a distraction for the past year. And to be able to just sit down with the tiles and just, yeah, it's online, but still to be able to sit there and focus on the game for a good 10, 15 minutes a hand, and not let anything else enter your mind. You are so focused on the tiles. It's extremely healthy for your brain to sort of shut other things out just for a few minutes. It's very healthy. So we talk about the three are cognitive, social, and emotional. And you can definitely, I think everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about. I should have asked before I started, who's been playing for 10 years or more? Okay, who's been playing for less than 3? Okay, it's okay. You're allowed to admit you're a rookie. Good, Amy. I was a rookie once too. I mean, I learned my first card in 2003. So that's how long I've been playing. But I took to it immediately. I just loved the game. But what happened with me was everybody that took the class with at the JCC in Whippany, which is no longer, it's the Metro West of New Jersey, it's called. But there were 2 branches and one of the branches closed. The one that I was learning at closed. Anyway, the ladies I learned with, I was better than them, but I thought I was really good in general. So I started playing. I went to a real tournament like you guys are having, and I was terrible. I had only been playing for 6 months and I was so over my head. It was a nightmare for me. Everything was going too quickly and it was overwhelming. But I came away from that experience knowing that I wanted to get better. And so I looked around and I said, what is she doing? How is she getting, how is she winning? What are the strategies going on in her head? And I first I went to the bookstores to see if there were any books about it. There weren't. So I decided I was going to try and learn from mentors, and then I was going to write a book, which I did. But my idea was that I was going to find the ultimate Mahjong mentor, a booby who knew everything about the game, but had a good enough sense of humor that she wouldn't be too strict. And she'd be joking about her grandchildren, and she'd be very optimistic, and you could do this, and, real affirming. So yes, as I sort of picked up tips from people around me, I wrote it all down, and that's what became my book. But what I like to say is this is the book I wish had existed when I was a rookie. So if you're still a rookie and you find that you wish there was another book beyond what you learned at your JCC class or learning from your friends, this is exactly that book for you. If you already know the fundamentals of how to do the Charleston and all of that, this is taking it to the next level. So now I'm going to get to the 20. When I talk about overtime with an evenly matched group, you're going to win sometimes, you're going to lose sometimes. But I tell people, on average, you should be winning about 20% of the time, which means you're losing a lot more than that. So when you get frustrated that you're not winning that much, you really shouldn't be, because it's not realistic to expect to win that much. I mean, it's just not possible. You're playing against people that also have a good sense of the tiles. They have as good a chance of winning as you do. And there's going to be wall games too. So winning 20% of the time is a good, healthy percentage, plus the wall games. If you find that you're winning 50 or 60% of the time, I don't know if you all play for money, but if you do play for money and you go home every week with, your purse is heavy, I mean, that's great, but it does mean you're not really challenging yourself. And so I tell people, I mean, play with your friends because you love your friends, but you might consider finding another additional group that'll give you a little bit more challenge, or at least playing more online with maybe a faster game, or just with people that, get you a little quicker, like they can read your defense a little bit better, or whatever it is that your current group is not at your level. They're wonderful to be with, but you really do need to have a better competitive opponent to improve your own game, because if you just keep on coasting, it's not enough of a challenge for you. So that's what I say is, if you're winning like 50%, up your game by playing with a more experienced group. And if you're not winning 20%, that's when you need my book, because there may be things in your game that you don't have down. Like maybe you're not assertive enough of calling for tiles, or maybe you're not able to spot when it's time to switch your hand up, or you can't recognize when your hand is dead. There's several really important skills that a better player will have just through experience. And the book will help you get to that place where you won't make those rookie errors, and you'll have a better sense of what to do and how to be more prepared. And that gets me to my number 70. This is something that I found over time, that this game is so much luck. 20% when I go to tournaments, I find that my not lose percentage is somewhere around 45 to 50%. That doesn't mean I win 45 to 50%. It means between wall games and winning, I don't lose about 45 to 50%, which is excellent. Because not losing, getting a wall game in a tournament, as you know, gets you some points. And points are good. So to not lose is actually something I'm really proud of. Sometimes I've got a terrible hand, I'm still able to battle to a wall game. I consider that an accomplishment. Anyway, 70% of this game, I tell people, is out of your control. You only see 1 out of every 4 tiles. You're only dealt, 13 or 14 tiles. There are going to be tiles that are picked up and racked and you'll never see them. There are tiles you couldn't coax out of your opponent's hand for any reason. You'll never have the tile that you need. So the chances aren't really in your favor. It's really stacked against you that 70% of the tiles won't even come across as something that you can use. So right there, that's part of why you're not going to win that much. However, when I tell people that 70% of this game is luck, look at it the other way. If 70% is luck, there's still 30%. What is that? That's the skill part. And my job is to teach you to maximize the 30% to be as skilled as you can be. And the number one saying that Booby has is luck favors the prepared mind. Meaning, the more prepared you are, the more you think about things in advance, anticipating what could happen, the better you know the card, the better you understand what your opponents are doing, the luckier you will be when those tiles come your way. For instance, you're playing and you're doing a singles and pairs hand and you suddenly pick up a joker. What do? There's all sorts of different ways to handle it. How would you switch up your hand if you suddenly picked up an extra flower or the joker? Or what if somebody exposes something that is now going to kill the hand that you thought you were playing? How are you going to switch it up? You need to be prepared. You need to think in advance of what can I do to still be in this game? Or if I'm out of this game, if I'm flailing, how can I not lose? That's another Boobyism. If you can't win, don't lose. So all of these things involve you preparing yourself. And that's what the book is about. The number one thing that it's teaching you is to prepare yourself to be a better player. And so as we know, new card coming out soon, you always want to learn the card as quickly as you can so that you are ready for all the things that could come your way. For instance, I've met players that are afraid of certain parts of the card, like, oh, I never play singles and pairs. That's too scary. It's too hard. Or I've taught students that will not play any suit but dots. I'm not kidding. It's crazy. They say, well, the cracks, I don't really understand the cracks, and the BAMs, it's too confusing. The dots, I understand. I can see the dots, so I only play dots. You know how many hands are single suit? There aren't. You're cutting off your nose to spite your face. So I always say, learn the entire card. You don't have to memorize it, but just understand how it interrelates, like how you could switch this hand to a different hand in singles and pairs or vice versa. Or if you had like numbers, maybe you'd switch from like numbers to a quint. Whatever it is, understand the card, and the better you do, then the better prepared you are for when an extra joker comes your way, or suddenly you pick up another pair that you weren't expecting. The whole point is understand what your options are so that you can take advantage of any lucky tiles that come your way. That is the bottom line of Booby's philosophy, and it's just so crazy. As Lorraine was saying, I just fell in love with this game, and this light bulb went on the first time I won, and then as I've been doing, what are we talking now? Almost 20 years. I just love the fact that you can take this this rack full of dreck, the stuff that's dealt to you in the beginning, and your job every single deal is to turn it into something that makes sense. I love that challenge. And I think most of you must too, or you wouldn't still be playing it. This is a great game if you like puzzles and you like working on your own. Some of us are more bridge players, some people are more canasta players, but if you're a Maj player, it's because you like the individual challenge. So all those things appealed to me. I get the sense they would appeal to you too. I very much urge, even if you do not want to invest in the book so far, and I totally can understand that, I do want you to look at my blogs, because I'm going to be writing blogs. I've got a whole bunch of articles already online, but I'll be writing about the new card when it comes out, showing you, some important things you need to understand about patterns in the card and exposures that you don't want to make because they're illegal, and how to play better defense. All of these little tips and tricks that I'll be putting in the blog, and the blog is totally free. I'm going to put it up here. And then also, I'm also going to put up, first I'm going to put up the, I didn't memorize it. I'm just going to tell you, if you go into Google and write Booby Mahjong blog, that is a quick way. You just write that in Google and it'll come up. And the other thing is, here's my email address. And you can always email me with any question you have. And I tell people, it's Fisher with a C. I always tell people that I will get back to them probably quicker than if they try to reach the league these days. If you have a quick question, or if you just don't understand a concept, I'm always happy to help you with as best as I can answer. But I was going to say, read the blog articles. There's some old ones in there. There's all sorts of different stories I've told. And if you like the writing, maybe you'll buy the books, but at least you'll get a lot of free advice and some insight that you might not otherwise have. I've actually talked to people that have been playing for 40, 50 years, and I've given them some tips that they never thought of. It's just good to get somebody else's perspective on the game. That's what I think. So that's sort of my spiel in an overview of the 3, the 20, the 70. Happy to answer any questions you might have. I know we wanted to get to the nuts and bolts of the tournament, but if anybody had a quick question.
Yeah,
if you want.
Karen, there's a couple. So one is, if you don't want to change your group, what about playing harder hands?
Oh, so you mean you personally within your regular group? Yeah, that's one way you could do it. You could say, okay, I'm not going to play the obvious hand. I'm going to challenge myself a little more. That's always a good idea. My attitude, since I only play once a week, is life's too short to play boring Mahjong. So I will play the crazy hands. I am the one, that hand behind me is a quint hand. My group knows that I will play quints. Like, they don't know if I'm bluffing though. I've been known to go for a quint hand with no jokers in my hand, because I know that they will come in, and I just feel like going for it. So I'll start exposing things, and they're like, where is this coming from? Is this real? And sometimes I'm bluffing, and sometimes it's real. I mean, my attitude when I'm only playing once a week is, what the heck? Why not? It's only, what is it, $1 at worst? So it's fun for me to challenge myself. And yes, I agree with you. Absolutely challenge yourself. The other thing you might, if you've really got a player that's really, really struggling, maybe ask her to sit with you and watch a couple hands that you're playing, if she wouldn't be too insulted, maybe so she can pick up a few ideas from you. Just a thought. I don't know. Some people, if they've been playing for 20 years or even 10 years, would be offended by that. You never know. It's really important. I think that was a brilliant idea, though, to say, challenge your personal self, even if you can't get your friends to up their game. At least you're challenging yourself. I think that's a brilliant idea.
And the other thing is, how early in the game do you call a tile?
That definitely depends. It depends how many jokers you'll be exposing.
Mhm.
Although my personal attitude, I'm aggressive. I feel like I probably wouldn't expose 2 jokers right away. But I do feel like if there's a tile that I need, and I don't call for it right away, I'm just going to need to use a joker for it later. So I might as well call it early on. The main trick about exposing is make sure you have a backup hand. Make sure that, especially if there are pairs involved, either make sure you have the pairs or make sure there's another hand you can switch to, because if those pairs go dead, then you're stuck, and a savvy player would know that and would call your hand dead. And you don't want that to happen if you don't have to. So having a backup hand is really a useful thing. So yes, I'd be very likely, the trickiest thing I think is if you call early on a wins hand, because generally if you call for exposure of wins, people know, well, she called for 4 east, so she needs 4 wests, or whatever it is. They will expect a little bit more than if you just exposed, 4 sixes. They really couldn't tell from 4 sixes what it is that you're doing. So yeah, I tend to call at least the first exposure early. And one of the articles that I write in the beginning of each new card is I write about something I call ambiguous exposures, where even with 2 exposures, there are certain hands where you still don't know what somebody's playing. So it's good to know and to think about, what's the harm of my exposing at least this hand, this set of tiles, and maybe another set? What's the harm, because nobody really knows what I'm going for. So I tend to be an aggressive player because, again, the worst thing that happens is I lose this hand and throw in the tiles and there's another hand coming. And I hate to be the person that's just sitting there twiddling my thumbs on the sidelines. You know, you might as well, you're there to play. You might as well be in the game. So that's why I say get in there and play. So that's Bubby philosophy. Anybody else? Amy, do you find yourself only playing 1 or 2 sections of the card, or do you try to play all different sections?
No, I play different sections.
Good. That's very good. I still can't get over the woman that would only play dots. That just, it happens. Okay, well, as I said, go ahead, check out look for the blog. And if you ever have a question, feel free to email me. And you'll be seeing me again in April. We'll be talking about the new card that comes out.
Right, the new card on the 21st, right. Thank you, that was terrific. I don't play Mahjong. I don't know anything about Mahjong except I love all the pretty tiles. I keep saying when I grow up, when I retire, you know, maybe, but I don't know. I don't know that I'm necessarily a candidate, but at any rate, that was wonderful. So thank you so much. We look forward to hearing from you again. And now I guess I'm going to turn it over to Judy. Judy, you want to give us a little overview of the rules and the scoring for our Mahjong Mania?
Hi there. So basically what we're doing with this Mahjong Mania is that my face just changed. Because we can't have a tournament this year, we're trying to do something a little bit different online. And so we came up with the Mahjong Mania. The scoring for this hand is going to be a little bit different than normal. What's going to happen is you're not going to use the scoring from the platform that you're playing on. Just disregard whatever they say the scoring is. So each hand, if you make the Mahjong, it's going to be whatever it says on the card. So whether it be a 25-cent hand or a 30-cent hand or a 50-cent hand, that's what you get as far as points. If you pick it yourself, you get double. The difference comes the person that throws the Mahjong. So if you throw a Mahjong and there's none or 1 exposure, the person that throws it gets a minus 10 points. If there are 2 exposures if there are 2 exposures, you get minus 20 points. And if there are 3 exposures up there, you get a minus 30. So that's the main difference in scoring. We've also added a couple of bonus points. So if you're playing a singles and pairs hand, which obviously has no jokers anyway, and the score, and on your card, you get more points for those to begin with. But if you make a singles and pairs hand, you get an extra 100 points above and beyond what you would get. So if it's a 50-point hand on the card and you pick it yourself, you get 100 points plus 100 points for that hand. So you would have 200 points. Now, if you're playing a jokerless hand, not the singles and pairs, it's the same thing. You get whatever it is on the card, doubled if you pick it yourself, plus an additional 100 points as a bonus for a jokerless hand. And that's basically the scoring. Oh, in wall games, everybody gets 10 plus 10 points. So we've sent out the score sheet, and it's a fillable sheet. So basically what you have to do with the sheet, one person is going to be the scorekeeper, designated scorekeeper. And they're going to download that score sheet, save it on your computer, open the sheet on the computer, fill in all the sections so that all 12 games, everybody's score is on there. When you finish doing that, make sure you save it. And then you're going to attach that score sheet and send it to Jamie B on the, it has her email on there. Now, if for some reason you can't do that, or you don't know how to do it and it doesn't make sense, take a picture of it or just put it on an email and send it to Jamie. All scores have to be in by Sunday night. We're saying midnight. We'd appreciate it a little bit earlier, but Sunday night is the deadline. So you have from now until Sunday night to play the 12 hands at your leisure. So if you don't want to play all 12 at once, because that's a lot of Mahjong, that's about 3 hours worth or 4 hours worth, break it up however it's convenient. And if you have any questions along the way, you can get a hold of either Lorraine or myself. Our numbers are on the sheet, and give us a call and we'll hopefully be able to answer your questions. But for the most part, I think you can figure it out within your own group. So if there are any other questions about the scoring or anything else, let me know. Connie is putting up our numbers now. And Connie, put up Jamie's email too, please. Does anybody have any other questions about it? Now, there will be prizes, by the way. The prizes are going to be in form of an Amazon gift card. And what we're going to have is the winner of the tournament will get a $54 gift card. Second place will be $36, and third place will be $18. So that's how we're handling it this year. And I would rotate East around as you normally do, just because it's fairer that way. So everybody gets that extra tile in the beginning. But any other questions on the scoring there? I wasn't sure, Connie.
Judy, Lisa has a question.
I know, that's what I was trying to.
Yeah, about the 200 points. For
Okay, so Lisa, if you're playing let's say a singles and pairs hand, and it's a 50-point hand, you pick it yourself, it would be 100 points. Plus, you get an extra 100 points as a bonus for making that singles and pairs hand. Now, if somebody throws it to you and it's a 50-point hand, you would only get 150 points.
Right. I understood, but right below it, it says
Right.
something about East and the Charleston, and if you win it before, I didn't know.
Oh, you know what? I've never seen it happen, but every now and then, it's happened that East at the end of the Charleston will actually have Mahjong. It's never happened at our game.
I've seen it,
But
and I was
people
like,
have done it. And
well, that's what I thought it meant, but I've never seen that, so that confused me.
well, if it happens, it becomes a self-picked hand.
Okay.
But there was not a bonus for it.
No, it says you get an extra 200 points.
Yes,
You know what?
we said that it would be 200 points. And the reason we put it in, Lisa, was because I was reading something in Facebook and it happened to somebody.
Wow, that's very.
Why shouldn't we award them the points?
No, it's not. I thought it was very cool. I just didn't understand
Well,
I
East
thought
can
it.
only be the one getting it.
I didn't know really what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
East is the only person that can get Mahjong at the end of the Charleston because they have the 14 tiles. So
Correct.
if East happens to be lucky enough to do it at the completion, then I understand that's why they get the extra 200 points.
Now I understand.
So they get double anyway because it's a self-pick and
Okay.
plus 200 points. So that would be a lot of points.
Yes.
I'd love to see it happen. I've never seen it happen in all the years I'm playing.
I just needed it explained because I couldn't understand it from what I was reading, and I thought that's not something I know.
Which is one of the reasons why I say to make sure East, everybody has a chance of being East as we do in a normal game.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, in that case, I wish you well. May the jokers be wild. Have a good time, and we'll see you. We'll hear from you on Sunday, and hopefully we'll see most of you again in April.
Absolutely.
Thank you for
Okay.
coming.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Karen, who I think is gone. Thank you, Jamie, Lorraine, Judy. Good luck, everybody. Have fun.
Bye.
Bye.